Thank you for joining with me. We are in chapter 4 of the Journey Through the Text of A Course in Miracles. This is the illusions of the ego, and we are starting section, the ego's strategy. To ensure that we never recognize our mistaken choice made as God's one Son, the ego develops a strategy, which, in a sense, sets into motion everything this course talks about. It is essential to understand this strategy and the purpose it serves, protecting the ego's fear of our choosing to identify with the Holy Spirit's atonement. Once we understand these two motifs and how they interreact, the atonement principle and the ego's fear of it, the strategy that arose from them will be unmistakably clear. The ego's strategy is directed at keeping us from choosing against it and turns us into mindless creatures by projecting the separation thought from the mind, making us into bodies. As explained in the prelude to this series, the ego motivates us to leave the mind by first convincing us to be afraid of it. This fear directly follows from our accepting the ego's myth that we have sinned against God. The resulting guilt demands that we be punished for our sin, which terrifies us. This then impels us to flee from the mind into the world, fearful of God's wrath and our certain fate. Needless to say, the ego's myth is made up, as is the world that was made as a defense against the ego's nightmarish tale. We turn now to a few passages that focus on these dynamics. This is section 1, 5, 4 through 5. But remember that laws are set up to protect the continuity of the system in which the lawmaker believes. It is natural for the ego to try to protect itself once you have made it. This is our introduction to the theme of the ego's defensive strategy and its need to protect its existence. Remember that the threat to the ego is not God or truth, but the power of the Son's mind to choose against the ego and for the Holy Spirit and His truth of atonement. Its strategy once again is to render us mindless by making a body and causing a veil of forgetfulness to fall across the mind, thereby erecting a seemingly impervious barrier between mind and body. Now we are aware only of our physical identity, cut off from the mind that thought it. The following passage gives us a sense of what the ego has done with the body and the mind. This is from section 2, paragraph 7, sentences 7 through 9. Body appetites are not physical in origin. The ego regards the body as its home and tries to satisfy itself through the body. But the idea that this is possible is a decision of the mind, which has become completely confused about what is really possible. Physical appetites, such as the need for food, drink, sex, pleasure, rest, etc., clearly seem to have a bodily origin, being corporeal in experience and expression. However, these needs have nothing to do with the body that does nothing, feels nothing, and has no appetites. Physical experiences originate in the mind and have never left their source. The ego satisfies itself in the mind by having us meet the body's needs, which simply reinforces the idea that there is a separate entity lodged in a mindless body. This mindlessness ensures our bodily preoccupations. The real purpose is not to satisfy the body. How can nothing be satisfied? But to keep the mind hidden in order to fulfill its strategy of keeping us mindless. As mentioned above, this strategy drives the ego's thought system and is expressed through the bodily world of our special relationships. I'm going to go ahead and stop there for today, and we will pick up this section tomorrow. I thank you so much for joining with me. Have a most beautiful day, and I will see you then. I love you. Bye-bye.